Hello everybody, today we're talking about the secret sauce that is the countermelody. It's a technique that can really help bring interest and depth to your music, whether you write pop songs or rock or film or television or games or ukulele tunes. Whatever you do, the countermelody can just give it that kind of third dimension, and that's what we're going to be looking at. We're not talking about sort of classical counterpoint, species counterpoint here. We're talking about the more free-flowing, sort of instinctive, intuitive thing that we do when we're writing a bit of music. I'm going to give you 6 tips to help you do them better, and also I'm going to offer you a thing called a -1, which is something we use all the time in our short courses, which is basically, it's an audio file which will give you a sort of an accompaniment and a theme, and all you have to do is drop it into your DAW, and then all you have to do is add the countermelody yourself. So what it is, it gives you a chance to focus just on the skill you're trying to master, so you don't always have to start with a blank sheet of paper. Our students in the short courses absolutely love it. And if you want to find out what a short course looks like, Google ThinkSpace courses, and you too will find out. Right, what do we mean about this countermelody? The first step in writing a really good countermelody is to have a well thought out, coherent main theme. So there's no point in trying to write a great countermelody around an absolutely rubbish, nonsense kind of tune. So when I say coherent, you need to really know what your theme is. So a lot of the time I'll hear students, potential students work, and the sort of meanders around, and you can't really get your fingers into it and say, you want to shake them and say, what is your tune? You know, just tell me what it is. Tell me what the basic phrase is, and how it develops, rather than just kind of wandering down to the shops, rather than actually getting straight to the point. So let us start with, I've got a little melody here. Is it coherent? Only you will be able to tell. Okay, so it's not a very complicated little melody, and it goes like this. Intro. There it is. Very straightforward, and it kind of feels a bit, come on, give me something extra. But we haven't got there yet. Tip number 1 is to find space. You know, and if you look at the theme, if you look at the tune itself here, you can see there's some big gaps where, and not just gaps, you're not just looking for a space where there's nothing going on, but often you'll get a long held note like that, and then it sort of just invites some extra little melodic element to come in there. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so that is the first thing. You're looking for space. You're looking for the long held notes where the counter melody can sort of maybe just pop in, the little phrase, the answering phrase, which can really sort of make a big difference here. So what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Well, step number 2 is to try and use either a contrasting register or a contrasting instrumentation, or both. There would be no point in trying to do said little counter melody using another string instrument in the same register, because there wouldn't be any counter, would there? It'd just be melody, a melody. So what we're looking for here is we're going to try and add. Let's start trying to do this now. So I'm going to go for. Okay, I tell you what. Well, I could use a cello. Is that contrasting enough? I don't know. Let's give it a find out. It sort of works. Let's try something much more different. Let's go. I often use French horns for my these kind of little phrases. So let's try if a French horn would help if I drop that in here. half fitted, the first bit fitted. So you can hear how having that distance between the instrumentation and the register helps it just float. It sort of almost bridges the gap. So you've got the two phrases. What am I doing? Two phrases and this kind of little melodic line sews the two things together, and it works really nicely. Okay, but sometimes, I mean, this time, what I was playing there, the counter melody, such as it was kind of more or less the same kind of rhythmic pattern and pace as the main melody. This main melody is fairly slow, so what happens if we add something which is quite a lot faster? Would that help? Let's go for some woodwinds this time. Let's try this. I have no idea what I'm going to play. Let's see how it goes. No. Whatever you play, Guy, unplay it. Unthink that thought. I always go too soon, or does it go too late? You see, I can adjust things to it. Anyway, so you don't have to stick to, that was a bit rubbish to be honest, but look, doesn't matter. The point is, sometimes a contrasting rhythm works well against the slower, so you could have slow against fast or fast against slow. You know, in traditional counterpoint, the species counterpoint type, this is a big deal. But what we're trying to do here is the bit more kind of laid back sort of approach to counterpoint. So if it's not working with doing slow against slow, try fast against slow, or etc. etc. This is a good thing to do. Now, a lot of the time, your answering phrase may have a similar shape to the main phrase, but you don't want to copy it. You don't want to do that sort of call and response thing. So if it goes do 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 do, you don't want to go do do do. It's sort of like a canon, but you might go like almost like the inverse of that. So you go, instead of do 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 do, you might go do do. God, don't sing, only play. That's what I'm going to take away from this little embarrassing 5 seconds. So if it goes, or something. So there's a similar shape, it's just the other way up. So see, that works. So you've got contrary motion. So you've got one going up and the other going down, and that kind of slots together. So that definitely helps on occasions. You've got to be careful, and you notice me get this wrong several times already today, and that is you've got to be aware where the harmony is and when it's going to change. And regular viewers will know I'm quite fond of dropping in markers, just so it's really clear. That's what I get wrong every time. So there we go. So that now is going to help, because if you look up there, there is my little markers, and each one of those will show where I change my chord. Okay, so let's now try and do one where we're going to follow the harmony. Now, a lot of the time, with the answering phrase or the counter melody, which comes afterwards, the final note of that phrase is going to fall on the next change of harmony. So you've got to be aware of where you're going. So I'll now faff about for a few goes and try and get something right, but you'll see what I mean. Let's go back to the French horn. Okay, worked first time. How irritating. So what went on there was we're in C to start with, going then the chord changed to F, so, and then it landed on the C again. So I went back, so I'm going C, G, C, A, F, G. So those are notes of the chord of C. A, F is obviously a note to the chord of F. So the whole thing sort of fitted together and it sounded like it was planned. Everything I do is carefully planned. No, no, no. So it's got to follow the harmony. It can't, you know, it can add, it can extend chords. So, you know, if you happen to land on a B when you've got a C major chord, you complete it and become the major 7, and that's quite a cool thing to do sometimes. But it needs to be intentional. You can't just sort of make it up as you go along. So, see, so we landed on the E that time. That was the third of the chord, so, and it fits fine. And then let's get along to the end. And then you want the same shape. You want your countermelody can't change every single time it happens. You want it to at least be the same kind of idea. And you see how it ties the whole thing together. So the last point, point 6, for those of you who've been counting, is the countermelody itself coherent? You know, just as I said, it's really important to have a coherent top line, main melody. It's just as important to make sure that your little answering phrase makes sense in its own, in a way that sounds. I think it does. So, I mean, this is 6 quick points. 1, find space to fit your little phrases in. 2, use contrasting instrumentation or register. 3, sometimes experiment with contrasting rhythms, fast against slow, slow against fast. 4, reflect the shape of the main theme, but don't copy it. Sometimes invert it, reverse it, whatever else. 5, very important, follow the harmony. And it's got to be coherent. And 6, is the actual countermelody itself as a little phrase coherent? Okay, so those are the 6 quick tips. Now it's going to be your go. You're going to go and try this, because underneath this little video there is a link to a landing page where you will get a piece of music like this, which you can drop into your DAW. And then you can try writing your own countermelodies around it and see if you can't get these points to make sense when you start to try it. And then having done it with the -1 and focus just on the countermelody, then you can start going back and finding your own songs, your own pieces of music, whatever else, and incorporating these ideas into your original compositions. Okay? Go and have some fun. Go and do it. In the meantime, Google ThinkSpace courses. ThinkSpace courses. It's the home of quality education for musicians. Nah, don't like that as a tagline. But anyway, right. Jolly good. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.